Bettendorf is the fastest growing city in the Quad Cities, has pretty good schools, and the crime rates are pretty good when you're looking at these online forums. But there is a problem with that at the same time. Everyone says they want to live in Bettendorf, Iowa until they do. Let's talk about how Bettendorf went from most desired city to a tough place to call home. Now, the very first thing to talk about on this list as to why it's a tough place to call home is really the housing. It's the most obvious, it's the white elephant in the room. It's the housing prices that are making it tough to live in Bettendorf, not only to get in, but to stay here when it comes to property taxes, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the home prices, specifically the median price. It is almost impossible to get into Bettendorf at a price lower than $300,000. It's not impossible, but it's pretty damn close when you're talking about home prices in Bettendorf. And it wasn't really that common of a thing just like 5 years ago. You could get into a home even under 100, maybe a little bit over 100, and those places still do exist, but they're pretty far and few in between. And when they are up, a lot of people are jumping on it. So the competition is super harsh when it comes to those prices and in Bettendorf. So it is extremely difficult when you're living here. You're going to have higher payments most likely on your home, and it just overall more expensive when you're living in Bettendorf. So something to think about if you're thinking you still want to be in Bettendorf. Just know that you're going to have high home prices and you're going to be paying for it. And one thing driving these home prices going up is really the expansion of Bettendorf, and specifically the new construction that is happening all over. I am working with a builder where we are building a home from scratch, from the ground up, and documenting every single part of that stage. And that's going to be featured on the YouTube video. But it is located in Bettendorf. The problem with new construction is that it is very pricey. And Bettendorf is really the premier place to build because so much is going on. So those homes are very, very expensive. Now, there is a silver lining to this. The silver lining is that more homes are coming available in Bettendorf versus the other cities. And that means more people can move here. Maybe they move from Bettendorf to Bettendorf, an upgraded home. So that means some of the prices that are in the lower range might be available. So there is silver lining to everything, but new construction and new neighborhoods being built is a big part of why the median home price in Bettendorf is on the rise, and definitely has been on the rise in the last 5 years. So yes, everything is expensive here, but when it comes to homes, you're gonna really expect that. Now, here in the Quad Cities, we have the Iowa side and we have the Illinois side. And the biggest difference that people talk about is the property taxes in Iowa versus Illinois. And the thing is Iowa typically is a lot lower than Illinois. So we get a lot of people moving over from Illinois into Iowa for that reason. But it doesn't mean that it's cheap. And specifically in Bettendorf, the taxes can be high, but there is always a silver lining. Just because they're high does not mean they're high on a percentage basis. So what does that mean? That means that Bettendorf has taken specific actions in order to try to keep the levy rates lower in Bettendorf because they know the home prices are higher. But when it comes to your bottom line, you are paying more in a dollar figure because your home value is more. So something to think about. But right along with that, all this new construction that is going on is prompting a lot more HOAs to be made in Bettendorf. In fact, Bettendorf is the highest concentration of HOAs in the Quad Cities. What does that mean? When you move in, you might have an extra bill when it comes to your neighborhood. Some people absolutely love HOAs, and a lot of people really, really do not. So something when you're moving to Bettendorf is if you're in a newer home, you want to see if that home is an HOA or not. And if you're okay with it, totally fine. But if you're not, you're going to want to know what the rules are, what the covenants are, just so you don't get stuck in something that you regret later. So keep that in mind. Property taxes and HOA fees are going to cut into your bottom line when you live day to day here in Bettendorf. Now, when moving to Bettendorf, it's not exactly apparent where homes have HOAs and where homes do not. So you really want to have somebody that knows what the HOAs are, what they entail, where they're at. So if you are moving here, I'm a licensed realtor. I do know all those different aspects of Bettendorf. Give me a call, send me a text. I'd love to help you and your family pick out the perfect place when moving to Bettendorf, Iowa. Bettendorf, if you look it up online, if you're doing research when you're moving here, you're probably going to come across that Bettendorf has pretty good schools and the crime rates are pretty good when you're looking at these online forums. Because of that, a lot of first-time home buyers want to move here and a lot of renters, but it's not really an ideal place for either one of those because typically first-time home buyers, rentals are looking for a lower cost place to live, and it's not that friendly. I mean, from what we've talked about before, the medium home price is pretty expensive when you're comparing it to the Quad Cities. So it really is a hindrance to a lot of first-time home buyers. It's not impossible because I do help a lot of first-time home buyers make the move to Bettendorf, but it does kind of limit your options on where you're going to be if your income isn't constituting the median home price here. And when it comes to renters, there are plenty of rentals, specifically along Central Avenue. There seems to be a lot right there. The problem is everybody wants to be in Bettendorf. So when a rental comes up, if it's at any decent price, it gets snatched up very quickly and the competition is very fierce. Just like if you're buying a home, but rentals almost even more so. So when you're moving here, just know that you want to get in because of the schools and the safe neighborhoods that are talked about online. Well, just know that you're going to be in stiff competition when you make that move to Bettendorf. Nothing says a healthy city like a growing city, and Bettendorf is no exception. Bettendorf is the fastest growing city in the Quad Cities, at least to my knowledge. And you really see that in the north area around the Betplex or TPK Bank complex, sports complex, and everything that is being built up there, like the Iron T, all the restaurants, all the different shopping centers, which is great. But there is a problem with that at the same time. Because all that growth is happening, sometimes the city gets a little behind on the different infrastructure that goes along with it. Just recently, they finished all the roundabouts that are up there. Before that, it was a pain to get around, and to be honest, I think they went a little overboard on the roundabouts. I personally like roundabouts, but there's a lot of them. You just kind of keep going a circle and around and around and around, but I digress on that. But it is a part of a growing city that sometimes the city isn't going to be as fast as some of the investments that are going on, and you do see that here in Bettendorf as well. When making the move to Bettendorf, it can feel like there's a Bettendorf bubble. What does that mean? Well, people genuinely like to be in Bettendorf, and because of that, they don't really leave Bettendorf, which can make it hard to break into Bettendorf in many different aspects. One aspect is really the social and economic aspect. When we've talked about the economic, where it's very expensive, but the social aspect is a lot of these people have been here for a long time, and it feels like you can't get into some of these groups that are been around 30 years, 25 years. It does feel that way a little bit. And not only that, but you have a business bubble. What does that mean? Well, because people generally have a little bit more money in Bettendorf, a lot of these local businesses are really catered towards a higher income base because of where they're located. And to be fair, their expenses are higher too. So there's a reason that happens, but you do get that kind of bubble feeling when you move into Bettendorf. So businesses, yes, they're a little bit serving the higher income families. So that means there's not as many quote unquote lower income, more affordable options when it comes to Bettendorf. I'm not saying there's none, because there absolutely is, but generally speaking, the businesses are catering towards more of that high income earning potential base that they do have in Bettendorf. So just know that going in, that there may not be as affordable places to shop, but if you're okay with that, it might be a great option for you. And when you're moving to Bettendorf, you really have to understand the neighborhoods. I've said this a couple times, but luckily for you, you do have me. My name's Alex Skeen. I'm a real estate agent here that have been working here over the past 5 years. I know every nook and cranny of Bettendorf. So give me a call, send me a text. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages. But if you just want to know the pros and cons of Bettendorf, well, check out that video right there.